Okay, in this video we'll be looking at multiplying with algebra. So for 2x here, let's bring back two boxes of Smarties. So what does multiplying by 3 do? Well, multiplying by a whole number like 3 means we're taking 3 copies of this 2x guy. So there's one of them, there's two of them, and there's a third. Now, remember we said when simplifying algebra, the trick is really to just write down what you see in the simplest way possible. And what we see in here is just 6 boxes of Smarties, so it must be 6x. Okay, so you push it all together with 2 times 3 being 6 and the x coming along. Now notice the difference if we change the times to a plus. Last time we said we couldn't combine those two together, and a simple reason is because it looks like this. And there's no better way to write that than simply 2 boxes plus 3 extra Smarties. So while it's true that you can't combine them with addition, but you can for multiplication, well, if that confuses you a bit, let the pictures sort of guide you in terms of when you can or can't write it in a simpler way. But there is a somewhat simpler mathematical reason why we expect multiplication to behave so nicely and so easily. And it comes from the fact that from our very first video, 2x itself really just means 2 times x. Remember, the multiplication was hiding in there. So when we bring the times 3 down, we realize we're really just multiplying 3 numbers together. And when we multiply a bunch of numbers together, it doesn't matter which order we do it in. So we can take this 2 times 3 first, that gives us 6, and then we can multiply the x afterwards. But remember, we can hide the multiplication sign and write 6x like that. But the takeaway again is that when multiplying algebra stuff, you can always push everything together into one giant blob. Okay, so let's try multiplying these 3 guys together. We know now it's just a huge string of multiplication, so we can choose to do the numbers first. I suggest you always do that. So we have 2 times 3 times 5. Now 2 5s are 10, then times 3 will give us 30. Then we fix up the letters next. So notice first how we have 2 copies of A here. When we multiply 2 copies of the same thing, we call that squaring. We write it with a little power of 2. So we can actually write those A's as A square. Then we have a single copy of B multiplying, so he just joins in like that. Okay, last one. We'll play with some negatives this time, so again it's numbers first. When we have negatives involved, it's maybe helpful to bring back the number line and remember that each time you multiply by a negative, you flip the direction of the number. So just looking at these numbers here, we start with a -4. That's a number going down. Then we multiply by 9, which is a positive number. That means there is no need to flip him around, it just sort of stretches the number longer or shrinks it shorter, whichever way the number goes. That means our number should still be a negative, and from our times tables, 4 times 9 is 36, so we have negative 36 as our number out the front. Then the letters. We multiply a single copy of x, we see 2 copies of y, which again will go in as y square. Then finally, a single copy of z. If we were to change the 9yz though to say negative 9yz, okay, then because multiplying by a negative flips the number, our arrow would turn around, causing it to become positive 36. Okay, so we saw these multiplication ideas way back, this whole negative timesing a negative and all that stuff like that. Keep those ideas in mind because those things still apply. It's just now we might be bringing along a few letters and stuff like that. Okay, so that's multiplying with algebra. That's all for this one. Thanks for watching and see you around.